Good evening and good morning, wherever you are. This is Luna fucking Rose, and this is your podcast, Recovery in the Raw. Here in Recovery in the Raw, we interview fellow addicts just like myself. And we get their experience, strength, and hope. Um, Along with their share and some of the struggles that they've went through. There is graphic language permitted. This is a um, we are not affiliated with Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous, but approved literature from both fellowships are permitted. And remember, this is your recovery in the raw. We do accept donations for the upkeep of the podcast, and the remaining will be sent to a recovery nonprofit. If you would like to speak or donate, please email. The email is in the channel description along with everything that I just read as well. So today we have who I will call for anonymity reasons, Mr. C. And Mr. C is going to tell us a little bit about him. Mr. C, I want you to start with your claim time.
Yeah, my clean time is currently 84 days, almost 3 months here.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Thank you, thank you.
There we go. There we go. Yep, yep, yep. Got to do the due diligence here. But yeah, so your total like clean time, minus what we talked about earlier, you have a little bit over like a year, on and off, right?
Yeah, it's been an on and off for sure. I kind of reset my clean time because I was smoking weed and I wasn't considering that um, a substance, but I trying to be complete abstinent now, so decided to reset my clean time for that reason.
Now there are some people who, I mean, I guess it just depends on your recovery and your higher power, whether you feel not conflicted of doing that or not. But again, you can also talk to your doctor. Some doctors approve marijuana, some doctors don't. Whatever. But I think again, each person's recovery is their recovery, correct?
Absolutely. It's to each their own, and it's different journey for everyone. So,
And again, as addicts, we really don't give advice. We give suggestions, right?
yeah, exactly. I would never tell anyone how to do their recovery, and I know what's right for me.
Yep, that is true. So Mr. C, what started your drug use? Um, we talked earlier, and you stated that you had started 11, and weed was your first go because you used to sell it. You want to tell a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I'm 28 years old right now. When I was 11, I have a lot of older siblings, and they were smoking weed, and their friends were smoking weed, and as soon as I found out how much they're paying for it, I was like, okay, I can make some money doing this. And before you knew it, I always had weed on me. And eventually I said, huh, I wonder what this is like. I'm giving it to all these people. I'm gonna try it out for myself and never look back.
Yeah. So then you basically had told me that your addiction really kicked off just before the pandemic, and that was you started what pills in 2017, right? You want to tell us a little bit about that experience for you? How you,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah. So it was honestly a natural progression because I started really young with weed and I was always told, oh, it's a gateway drug. And I said, nah, it's not a gateway drug. I'm just a stoner. And eventually I started drinking when I was like 14. And by the time I was 18, I tried every psychedelic. I thought, I'm just a hippie. And then in my college years, I, got into all kinds of other stuff, a lot of benzos, Klonopins and Xanax and stuff like that. It was starting to get popular in like pop culture. I'm big into like rap music and stuff, and all the people around me were into that kind of stuff. So it just became the thing people were doing, and um, I started dating a girl who had a prescription for benzos, and that's where it really started getting heavy.
Just
Um,
because they were available.
because it was so easy to get. I was going out there trying to find them, and at that point, I still didn't even know I was an addict. I was abusing drugs, but I wasn't. I didn't think I had a problem. I thought I was just having fun, and you know,
We never think we have a problem, do we?
not until we
Not till we
realize.
have to, right? Not till we have to admit that we have a problem, and that's step one. You know.
Exactly. It
So,
took a while for me to get there, but
you
yeah,
know,
eventually I got my hands on some Percocets and started using some opiates. And after that breakup, that's when I really dove into stronger opiates.
what about you talked about about 2019. 2019, you started says you started dope heroin around that time. That was just a progression from the pills, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. That's when me and the girl that was had the prescriptions for benzos broke up, and I was just, going through that kind of situational depression at the time. And the friends that I was using benzos with and some perks, they at that point had got into dope. And
Now,
I was like, yeah,
one of those times, one of those times you stated that you were behind the wheel and OD'd, correct?
yeah, that was definitely a traumatic moment for me. I was with a friend of mine and he was in the passenger seat. I was driving. We weren't with anybody else. I had overdosed and I just remember waking up on in his bathroom floor with him rubbing my sternum.
And how?
And
Uh, Obviously, you weren't feeling much after that. You were still coming through, but after, you got together. I mean, how did you feel about that incident? Can you describe how you felt?
I felt really guilty um, to even put him through that. His family was at his house too. I remember when I woke up, I was so confused. I was like, what's even happening right now? The last thing I remember is being in the car and I was high and driving, and now I'm on the floor, like in his bathroom. What's going on here? My very first thought was confusion, and then right after that was anger. I was mad. Why am I not high right now? And I instantly wanted to use. And his whole family was there, like looking at me, like you almost just died in our house. And so, from then on, I was like obviously feeling really guilty for putting them all through that.
Yeah. So my question is now is obviously, you have recovery. You've been in recovery program for over a year, like you said. How do you feel about that situation now?
Hmm. I feel really conflicted about it, honestly.
Still today? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know how to think about it. I have a lot of mixed feelings. They that household had a lot of drugs in it, so I was like I used there a lot, and they put me some through some traumatic things as well. So I have really mixed feelings because I feel guilty, but I also have resentment. So what I do know is one way I feel about it is like, my higher power, for whatever reason, kept me alive that day. that could have been my last day, living. And for whatever reason, I'm alive today. Part of me thinks that's my higher power's plan for me.
Yeah, and my thing is too is, you know, in any nonprofit, recovery nonprofit, they have, their versions of step work. And I think that those issues can be resolved um, in doing the step work. Correct?
I'm a firm believer of that because I've been in and out of the programs, the 12-step programs, and I've been in and out of active use. And every time I thought I had got it, every time I got clean, I thought I had got this thing, but I didn't. And that's because I didn't do any, um, work on myself, on my trauma, my resentments, any of that. So, and I had no connection with my higher power.
Now, what is your relationship with your higher power now?
I I feel like I'm very close to my higher power.
Do you think that is increased because of your attendance in meetings and your recovery knowledge? Do you think that's increased your connection with your higher power?
Yes, I think that my relationship with my higher power was destroyed through active addiction. I was um kind of defiant. At one point I remember thinking, if there's a God, then he forgot about me. Because how am I here right now going through this shit if there is a God? I'd started to doubt my faith. Um, and through surviving overdose and my life really turning around in recovery, that's really like re-sparked my faith and given me an even stronger connection and deeper understanding than I ever had prior to all of the addiction.
So you would say that as a recovering addict, that it's almost a bloodline. It's almost crucial to be in some kind of recovery nonprofit um, or step working program. Correct?
No, I wouldn't say that.
No.
Everyone's recovery looks different. I,
I know it's a vital line for me. It may not be for agreed. It may not be for someone else.
yeah, so here's how I think about it. Firstly, I'm a member of AA and NA, but I'm also a member of Smart Recovery. Are you familiar with Smart Recovery at all?
I'm not.
It's it's essentially CBT, DBT, which are, cognitive and dialectical behavioral training, which are forms of therapy, and those are applied to addiction and substance abuse. And it's completely a scientific approach to recovery. And so my thoughts on it are that addiction affects us holistically. It affects us mentally, physically, emotionally, but it also affects us spiritually. And you can try to attack it at all angles, whatever works for you. Everyone is different. Everyone's recovery looks different. But I do think that the most important part of all that is spiritual because it's kind of the foundation of it all. You can try to get clean and be white knuckle it, but if you don't have any spirituality, it could get the best of you again.
Yeah. Now some people say now those are the step working programs that you attend. Now some people say that in the program that the step working program itself could be a addict's higher power. It's whatever you believe is higher than yourself.
Yeah, it's anything greater than you. I mean, I found that one of the steps says that you came to believe a power greater than yourself can restore you to sanity. And what I know for sure for myself is that when I follow my will, it drives me towards insanity. So the only thing that can drive me to, lead me to sanity and restore me is something greater than me. To everyone, that's different,
I'm
though.
so sorry about that.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Do your thing.
Sorry
It's
about that.
It's yeah, but everyone to everyone it's different. Some people say it's group of drunks. People in AA say God is a group of drunks, and a lot of people in NA tell me the program, the fellowship is their higher power. I am a Christian. You know, I go to church every Sunday, so my higher power is God. When I'm in programs, I like to just refer to it as higher power because I know that um, everyone has their own version of that. So I like to just call him HP.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard of that God before.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, uh, but yeah, again, to each their own, and whatever helps you. You know what I mean? Um, now I know there's been certain things that have questioned, that you have questioned your higher power regarding, and there was like, an incident that maybe you didn't question your higher power in, but you had spoke of a friend of yours, the one that saved you in the car accident, OD'd, and then that deeply affected you. Can you tell us how bad that deeply affected you?
Yeah, that was a very traumatic experience for me. Um, I hold so much guilt for that because when I overdosed, he was there to save me and prevent me from dying. He had Narcaned me, and I could have just died right then. And then I had gone through an IOP program after that, in intensive outpatient rehabilitation. And, you know, in recovery, you have to distance yourself from people that are still using, or at least I believe that. And so I distanced myself from him. And, you know, I was getting my career together. And while I was at work, that's when I got the news that he overdosed. So I felt really guilty, of course, because it's like he was there to save me. I wasn't there to save him. And it just really messed with me because you know, we use together a lot. It's a trauma bonding experience using with people, going through withdrawals with people.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
Now, do you think that because he was there for your OD that you had to be there for his, even though you were at work and couldn't help the situation?
Part of me does, because I'm forever grateful for him being there for me. I really do owe my life to him. And um and it's a selfish decision to put yourself first, but it's
Well,
what you need to do at times.
but would you say, keeping yourself clean and keeping yourself in the program would be owing enough for your friend? Um, hopefully, I think if he saw you doing well and prospering, that's what he would want for you is progress in your clean time and recovery.
You know, I do feel that way. My therapist recently had me write a letter to him because I've been holding this guilt for so long. And in writing that letter, one thing I had realized is that what he'd want me to be doing is what I'm doing right now, is putting my recovery before anything. Because otherwise, what can I do for anyone? If I can't even help myself, I can't really help anyone. I maybe could have been there to Narcan him when he overdosed, but it just would have been, you know, delaying it and inevitable. If he wasn't ready to do this thing, then he wasn't ready, no matter how much he wanted it. And you know, I can lead people to water, but I can't force them to drink.
That is absolutely true. And it hurts to see, ones that we love fall to the wayside due to drugs. And I have, two biological brothers who OD'd over, drug overdoses. So, I mean, I knew one of them well, the other one not so much, or not at all. But they both did. Um,
Sorry
now,
to hear that.
oh, go ahead.
I said I'm sorry to hear that. I'm,
Well, same, likewise to you, and on all accounts. I mean, being an addict, it's a rough life, and there's a lot of rough things that happen in it.
yeah, I mean, just knowing how much that fucked me up, it does worry me. And every day in my recovery, I'm trying to prepare myself because I haven't lost any family members, anyone that, you know, is blood to me. And it, I relapsed at his wake, that's when I got back into active addiction. And so I'm just like trying to prepare myself because I know life gets hard. People die and things happen. And I need to be prepared for that because I can't just turn to drugs when things get bad, and they will get bad.
Would you say that it's wiser to turn towards the step working programs?
It's one of the only things that I know can uh can help me in those times is the foundation of relationships that I've built in recovery. Because it's easy to isolate and be all alone, but people in the programs, they truly selflessly, unconditionally care about each other. And so I know if I disappear, I'm getting calls. They're going to be worried about me and they're going to be making sure I'm okay.
And now that comes from building, like you said, a network safety net for yourself, so to speak, within the program. Um, Now it says in 2020, you said in 2020 that you went to an IOP, an inpatient program. What was that like for you?
It was an amazing experience. I I was such a I was so invested in my addiction that I had justified it to myself and convinced myself that I can live life like this. I mean, I got through my schooling and started my career while using. So I told myself I'm a functioning addict, and I don't think there's any such thing as a, you know, functioning addict. But when I went to rehab, I realized the grass is greener on the other side. It really is. I originally went because um, other people that I was hurting, my family members that and my friends that were worried about me. I didn't even go for myself. I was just trying to convince them that I'm okay. By the end of that rehab, I had realized that I really didn't just go there for my loved ones. I was there for myself because I was the one I hurt more than anyone. I was hurting myself every day.
I always tell people the only ones who limits us is us, you know, and we're our own worst enemies and our own worst critics. Um, so
We're
it's
also our own best friends, though. I do see I do see addiction as kind of a superpower. I mean, an addict will go to any measures to get their drug. They can be so obsessed with one thing. And I think when those types of characteristics are geared towards the right things, like recovery and being a productive member of society, that it does give us kind of a, I don't know, an edge on the normies.
Well, yeah, I mean, because the step working program works, and honestly, I think it works for anybody. Um, these are great principles, morals, and values within the step working programs. Um, so
Oh, I know
although,
some people who aren't addicts who I think could use it.
right. Yeah, yeah, like, hey, have you ever heard of this? You may not be an addict, but these might help. We have about 8 minutes left over 40 minutes. Um, Went by fast, huh?
Yeah, it did.
So I want to ask you, real quick, and we can wrap this up if you want, or keep going. It's up to you. But
I'd love to keep it going. That went by really fast.
yeah, absolutely. So real quick on here, I want to ask you, what do you think what role does like a community or a social network as like Zoom meetings and stuff that they have for step working guides, or for step working programs? What role does the community play in a recovery, a person's recovery?
I think it's the exact opposite of the role that all the people you used with and all the people you picked up from are. In active addiction, I built all my relationships with with drugs. It was people I sold drugs to, people I bought drugs from, and people I used drugs with. And all they did was pull me deeper into my addiction. And in the step programs, in recovery, it's just the complete opposite. It's people that can pull us away from addiction and keep us in recovery, even when something inside of us or we want to pull ourselves back into, out there, they'll keep us in.
Now, you and I are in a step working program together, and you yourself have checked on me personally, and that's great because we create support networks with each other, and that's how we become familiar with each other. It's just getting to know people, putting ourselves out there, making ourselves known. I mean, closed mouths don't get fed, is what I tell people.
Mm. Yeah, and I was always told from the first day I went to a meeting, get numbers, use numbers. And that's exactly what I didn't do. I showed up, I put my hood on, I sat in the back, and I listened, but I didn't really hear what they're saying. I didn't really care. Um, and not until recently did I start actually saying, I'm gonna build these relationships. These are genuine relationships, what I always wanted.
How would you say like self-compassion towards yourself impact your recovery? Like showing yourself self-compassion. How do you think that's important? How does that impact?
Well, it's easy to hate yourself when you're using, um, and it's easy to hate yourself even when you stop using because it that's when all the smoke clears out and you realize,
When
huh, I was
Russian, yeah.
I was kind of a piece of shit. I've done some
You open
fucked
the
up shit.
floodgates on the feelings.
Yeah.
All feels.
Yeah,
um,
so you have to give yourself forgiveness, and
let yourself
that's
get
that's huge. It's not easy for me. That's why I'm like I need these steps right now, like because I still, think about, damn, do I deserve this even? I question if I even deserve this.
yeah, because a lot of us as addicts, we feel that we're not grateful. I've never been grateful of anything, and for me, I took advantage of a lot of people. So, you know,
Yeah, I mean, for a long time I was convinced I should be in jail or I should be in hell.
well, there
Um,
was two times where I really thought I was in both.
yeah, exactly right. I was in my own version of it, and I it's a blessing that I'm even here, and I'm grateful for every moment. And I'm learning to love myself every day. And one thing that really helps is the love that people in the program give me. Really, they show me that I'm not defined by my actions, and I'm a sick person. I'm not a bad person, even though I did bad things. Um, a lot of that was a product of my addiction, and that that in my heart, I do want to be a good person. I do want to do good things, and people in the program remind me of that.
Yeah, and personally, I came off a relapse about 45 days ago, and that kind of humbled me. It made me, feel like the newcomer again. Like it kind of like I know where the newcomer's coming from. Um, that place of sorrow, despair, defeat. So it is important to love yourself and give yourself a break, and the people in it remind us of that. You know, um,
Yeah, I love being a newcomer. The program is all about the newcomer, and
get sick in one day, so easy does it. So
easy
yeah,
does it.
but we have about 2 minutes left, so I'm going to go ahead and stop here. And we'll take a second and continue.
All right, sounds good.
Let me stop this real quick. All right. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. And we are back here in Recovery and the Roll after a little break. Um, no, seriously, I had to get my back broke real quick so I could come back and sit down. No. All right. Anyway, So, we kind of left off just, talking about, compassion, stuff like that and recovery. One thing I do want to ask you too is, what was the what was the worst withdrawal you've ever gone through?
Worst withdrawal was from fentanyl.
And
Um,
how many days were you withdrawing?
I can't even remember really. It felt like a year because every moment was so agonizing. It's crazy. I remember at times I was just crying because it was just like almost like depression. Like there was no reason for me to be crying. I wasn't crying about the drugs. I was just like just zero dopamine and just sadness. Other times it was just throwing up, shitting my brains out, feeling like absolute shit physically. Um, and at times just so nervous, just overwhelming paranoia and anxiety. I remember one time I couldn't get any dope and I decided, I'm gonna smoke weed. Maybe that'll help. Oh my gosh, that was the worst idea ever. Then I was just high while withdrawing. Fucking horrible idea. But yeah, it just sucked. It was the worst shit ever. Every time I was withdrawing, I remember thinking, I'm never fucking doing this again. It's almost like when you're hungover and you're like, I'm never drinking again. And then before you know it, you're fucked up again.
Yeah, don't we all say that, huh? Never again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what? Now I have learned to never say never. One day at a time.
Exactly. Yeah, one day at a time, just another 2-4.
And the thing is, when we relapse, sometimes I personally plan for it and I work myself up to get it. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then, like, I go and do it. But then, like, I amp myself up so much that I forgot what the withdrawal and all the other bullshit after was like.
It's a crazy thing, right? It's so bad withdrawals, but in that moment when you're just fiending, all those memories, all those thoughts are just buried by the overwhelming,
Dopamine in your head to try to go get some.
yeah. And
Yeah.
one crazy thing I realized in a lot of my withdrawals was the moment my drug dealer, my plug would respond to me, my withdrawal started going away. Like even just knowing I was going to get the drug,
Yeah,
some of
you
the
like
symptoms started going.
yeah, it's like what is it? You mentally like amped yourself up, like told yourself it was going to be okay at that point and you could relax.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy to me though because the withdrawals manifested themselves physically, like throwing up. I'm shitting my brains out.
Well,
It's
I
a
mean, it
physical
does
thing.
affect your brain, your nerves, and everything else in it.
Oh yeah, we'd always call it kicking. Withdrawing, we call it kicking, and I was literally kicking my feet. I'd have the restless legs, and just like my nerves were freaking out. I'd have to like twitch my body to get it out, and
Younger than I am. I'll be 40 this year. But there used to be an old commercial that it said this is your brain on drugs, and it showed like an egg getting fried in a pan.
yeah.
And I remember that commercial so vividly, and I was young, and I'm thinking, damn, I don't want to do that shit if it's gonna mess my brain up like that. But I ended up doing it anyway. You know.
Yeah, no, I always thought like this does not look nice until I tried it and was like, oh, this is nice. And then
And
but
then it
look where that
wasn't.
got me.
Then it wasn't. It was like the toxic boyfriend or girlfriend that you had. You're like, oh, this is nice, and then as time goes on, you find out this isn't so nice.
Yeah, someone told me um, that the demons, devil, whatever you want to say, the drugs, they're persuasive. They don't just, show you the bad side. They persuade you with all the good sides.
Oh, I've been watching a show on Netflix, and in one of these shows on Netflix, it has drugs throughout the show, every second of the movie almost, and they do show how like they all party and have a good time, but then they also show how like there's consequences for partying like that, and there's consequences for anything you touch. And they
I
make
like that because a lot of the media glorifies it. I mean, I got really into stuff recreationally at first because of the music. I was into rap music. I was into a lot of hippie
well, this
bands like
show I'm
Grateful
talking about.
Dead.
I don't care. I mean, I have no rights to this show, but it's a good show that I've seen. Shameless. Yeah,
I love the show. I've seen
yeah,
the whole thing.
yeah. I'm on like season 6 or something right now, but I watched that and I'm like, that's the show I'm talking about because they really, show them like partying and then like she goes to jail and nothing works out for him, and look at Frank, he's a piece of shit. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So,
that's
you
the
know,
reality of it.
that's the reality of an addict.
Jails, institutions, and death.
You get a Frank.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
all our own versions of Frank, I
Yeah, we're
guess,
all
man.
our own versions of Frank. That is right. So I would like to ask you, what are some effective coping mechanisms that you use in difficult moments?
Meditation is big for me. Um, because urges are fleeting. Some trigger could cause an urge, but it's not like you have urges 24/7. They last minutes, they last hours, they go away.
Now that yeah, they get less and less the more clean time you have. Um,
That's a fact.
yeah. Yeah, it's just like being away from a toxic ex.
Yep.
The more time you spend away, the better you're gonna be.
Yeah, yep. And the more you just remember, wow, that was very toxic.
Yeah, yeah.
When you're in it though, it's different. Or when you just lost it, it's like, huh, I miss the good parts about it, but I don't miss the good parts about being high. I remind myself of the shitty parts every day now, and I never want to go back there.
Don't we all though? We all remind us, and I think that's why the past exists, is just to remind us not to go back to the past.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's for us to learn and to push forward and be the best versions of ourselves we can be. And I think if anyone's a struggling addict or struggling at anything, they could use step working programs to really help further their recovery along in anything in life. You know what I mean? So.
I am extremely grateful that I'm an addict. Um, I used to hate myself for it, but now I absolutely am just have so much gratitude because it led me to the growth that I could never have gone through without going through addiction. It led me to have a closer relationship with my higher power. It led me to therapy and psychiatry and 12 steps. I just did my step 3 with my sponsor, but I know the next couple of steps are really gonna get me through some shit.
Let me ask you, and I want to be real here, because this is recovery in the raw.
Yeah.
So, I had a major setback when my mom passed away, and, I kind of went off the grid and kind of went ham. Um, you know, how do setbacks affect your recovery? Do you continue to now seek recovery, seek your safety net, or um, you know, if something serious happens, what do you do in that moment?
I I don't know. The last really, thing that was big in my life that happened was my friend passing, and I relapsed that very moment. And since then, my life has turned around. It's gotten better, and I haven't really experienced anything that's a setback, and I am worried. I'm feel like maybe I'm overconfident with my recovery and
Well, yeah, and that's where I think we need to rely on other addicts for support. Um, definitely when things like that arise. I mean, I've been in, step working programs where I've seen many people lose many people, but they just word vomit it day after day until they learn to accept that, grief. They'll grieve forever, you know what I mean? Everyone grieves differently. But I think talking about it in the step working programs definitely help from someone relapsing in a major setback.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm trying to build that foundation now. I'm trying to build the like coping mechanisms and the relationships that support. But it's easy to isolate and to just step away from it all when, especially with the virtual, those people you don't they're in other states, we're miles away. It's easy to just isolate and disappear. Um, so I hope when that happens that I don't end up isolating. And if I do, that I don't, that I let people reach out to me because it's hard for me to take help too. You know,
Yeah,
pride is a pride is the
typically,
devil.
yes, typically as addicts, sometimes it is hard for us to accept help. I myself am, working through the steps, and I'm kind of hovering over 8 for a while. But it's an hour time, right? It's when it's comfortable for us. There's no rush in doing the 12 steps. Why? Because guess what? You're gonna do them again and again and
At one point, that kind of, pushed me away. I'm like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, go to meetings, but now I'm like, I'd love to. I'm happy to. I want to go to a meeting every day.
sometimes people don't want to walk with a crutch the rest of their life, but they do, or a cane. I know I have a cane,
Mm,
so yeah,
mm,
yeah, you know what I mean. So like, I know if I use that cane, it helps relieve my pain, in
yeah.
times of pain, and if I don't, it just amplifies. So I know that I need step working programs to help with the treatment of my disease, which is addiction.
I love that analogy. And I feel exactly that. I need it. I can't do it without it. So why would I put myself through that and try to?
Why not lessen
I
your pain, right?
exactly. I am trying to rush through the steps, honestly, though, even when you mentioned that, because
Hey, that's what we like here. We like honesty. So
yeah, I'm scared that some setback is gonna happen before I feel ready to handle that setback. So I'm trying to prepare myself
but my
and
thing is, if you super prepare yourself, aren't you kind of like zooming through, really benefiting yourself from what it is you exactly need to know from the steps?
yeah, it's easy to just say, okay, I did this one, I did that one, half-ass it or lie to yourself while doing it. And
So why is it not good to lie to yourself, Mr. C?
oh man, I mean, the first step is like right there. You can lie to yourself. Say, I'm not an addict. Or when you accept that you're an addict, that I'm an addict, but I'm not my life isn't unmanageable. Or even then, my life isn't as unmanageable as others, or I'm not as much of an addict as others. It's just dangerous because it's all different forms of just justification, which leads right back to where it all started. You
And
know,
that was with who?
with yourself.
Yeah. And self-discovery is important in the step working guides and in step working. It's important. Self-discovery hurts. It's like ripping a band-aid off a wound. You gotta pull fast. um, but once you get through the nitty-gritty of it, I think it really just makes you see shit differently. And I've heard so many people say this, and I've experienced it myself. So, like, I know this. And if you work them correctly, diligently, and honestly, and work them in your own time, I think you're going to come out on top. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I always say I've heard it works if you work it. And from my experience, I know it doesn't work if you don't work it, at
And then
least for
once
me.
you work it, you can drop down and twerk it, as a friend of mine says.
Yeah.
Uh, um, yeah, so let's see. How can or how are you trying to rebuild trust um, after like a difficult recovery journey? Like, how are you trying to rebuild trust in other people you are close to and lost trust with? How are you trying to do that?
I'd be lying if I said I was.
Okay, so how do you think you could try to do that?
But the steps, I don't know. I need some work. There's some work to be done before I can get there, to be honest. I I know what I can do or what I've done so far is build new relationships. Some of the people that are a lot of the people in my life weren't people that I should have had in my life. They were not even genuine relationships. So
Funny how the universe can take people out of your life that aren't supposed to be there, huh?
yeah, and I'm grateful for that. Shout out to HP. And it brings people who are supposed to be. Everyone that I've met in recovery are people that I can trust.
Yeah.
And I went through my whole life not trusting people. So at least I that's a starting point, I guess.
Well, I mean, again, it's building on yourself and it's self acceptance, self discovery, and honesty. I mean, we're on our way, and this is what this program is about. This is what this podcast is about, to show that struggling addicts are struggling addicts. You know what I mean? And nothing in life is perfect. And human, society, humankind strives for perfection, but they're never going to achieve it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to be recovered. When I got out of that IOP program, I thought since I'm clean that I'm recovered. I'm good to go. There's nothing else to be done. In
That's a common
reality,
misconception, correct?
yeah, when you stop using, that's when it starts. That's when recovery just is starting. That's like there's a lot of work to do from there, and I'm ready to do it for the rest of my life.
And each step working program has its own literature. And I know people who've read all of it. And it's just like any fellowship program. You're gonna have your people who go out and party and come back and repent on the weekend, and you're gonna have all this other kind of shit. It
Yeah.
happens. You have drama and groups. Um, and I see it in like online groups. You get people in here who decide that it's funny to bomb people. You get people in there who cuss at other people because this isn't right and that's not right. I mean, it happens, but you've got to be strong enough to go through it because it's your recovery. The importance is the recovery and not what's going on around us. Um, the important part is ourselves.
Yeah, and you get a bunch of recovering addicts together, you're gonna expect there's gonna be drama. Part of me, when I'm not in it, I love it. I sit back and grab the popcorn and I fucking
I've
love
been in it too,
it.
so I've been in it too. But even though being in it, sometimes I sit and still eat popcorn to stay in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, it's going to happen. Um, but again, the importance is the individual themselves. No one's going to pull your hand through recovery. We've got to want it. And
Yeah, and it's seems a little selfish and that I do feel like I take so much from all the programs I'm in, and that I am start that is motivating me to want to start giving back because some of these people spend their whole lives just doing recovery and doing service, and it's like, wow, these are such selfless people, and all I've done is take from it. I need to give back to this.
Well, look what you're doing today, Mr. C. You're giving back.
And
Congratulations.
thank you, to even, put this all together. And I know you do a lot of service in programs as well, so
And then I
appreciate it.
say, this is an our podcast. It's not a my podcast. Without, you know, addicts, I don't have a podcast. So, it's great thanks to all of you that are willing to interview, and share the realism of addiction. And I'd like to ask you, wrapping things up here, um, what is the most important thing to remember about recovery? Would you like, yeah, so yeah, that's the question. What is the most important thing to remember about recovery?
I've come to this realization recently for myself. This is what I believe. I always hear honesty, willingness, and open-minded. And these things, for a while I was like, it's just their words.
Yeah, like, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
in reality, if you lack any of those, you're not really getting all of out of it. You have to be honest, you have to be open-minded, you have to be willing. And with those, we're well on our way.
Amen to that, brother.
Yeah. But shout
Um,
out to HP and shout out to Luna, motherfucking Rose, and this podcast, this channel. I don't can't always get myself to read the Just for Today, read this bad, but now every day I come to this channel, I listen to it. So shout out to you for that.
yeah, I get up every morning and Sammy records it, and then I wake up and then I post it. So
It's become a part of my recovery.
yeah, and it's good, and that's what we want this podcast to be is a part of people's recovery. And again, I appreciate your, experience, strength, and hope, and your knowledge, in recovery, and what you need to work on. It takes a good person to admit their flaws and take accountability for actions, and you seem to be doing that, and that's included in step work. So I mean that shows me that you're actually working recovery. So that's a good thing. Um,
Yeah, I'm just a recovery baby. I'm 28 going on 11 or 12, so I'm just starting to, grow up.
and in closing, remember first, if you want what Mr. C has, you can get it. It's recovery. It's free. There's tons of stuff online, tons of resources you can dig into, but recovery is there for anybody who needs it. And you're not alone. And if you like what Mr. C had to say, please like, subscribe, and share, and feel free to comment. Ask Mr. C some questions or any other podcast you may listen to on this platform of ours. Feel free to comment. And any inappropriate comments will be deleted.
Yeah, I just want to say if you made it this far in this podcast, you better go like that shit. You better go subscribe to that shit and leave a comment, motherfuckers.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And with that, we are going to end this podcast. We love you all and thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.